1 minute.
One minute, Kirk. Can you run any programming back there, Kyle, so we can hear when you're coming in or not?
I thought you guys would be able to hear it. I'm not sure why you can't.
Okay. Yeah, there must be something just not flipped over. That's all right. Just give us when you play. I think.
Just tell us when the intro's playing.
Yeah, as long as we know when that intro. If we should be able to hear that intro. I'm hoping.
10 seconds. Intro is on.
America's largest all-sports radio station presents the #1 motorsports show for over 2 decades. Track Talk, brought to you by Rod-In Supply and the Power Ride Midwest Lightning Sprints. Here are the racing boys, Scott Traylor and Kirk Elliott.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Craftsman Truck Pre-Race Show. The Heart of America 200 is going to be racing tonight here at Kansas Speedway. Kirk Elliott at Kansas Speedway. We are live from Racing Boys HQ here at our little studio that we have here. Kirk Elliott, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. It's been a full day out here at Kansas Speedway. We've already had the ARCA race, the Dawn 150, won by Jesse Love. I think he led just about every lap. We've had the Cup cars just finished up their qualifying here just a little while ago, and here we go, the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. How do you know, it's been a few years since we said Craftsman Truck Series.
It really has, hasn't it? It's been a while. Yeah.
They were the original sponsor of this series, and now they're back. And
that's kind of cool to see a sponsor come back to a series after they left the series. How many years ago did they leave, Kirk? How many years ago was that? Do you know what year that was?
It's well over 5 years. Somewhere between 5-10 years ago. I can't exactly remember the year
right
that they last sponsored this series, but when it started in 1995, they were there.
Right.
And so they had the exclusive rights to the series up until, I'd say, about a decade ago. And then Camping World came in, and they had it for a number of years. Now Craftsman is back. But I remember the first race out here to Kansas Speedway, Scott, and I know you do too.
Right.
It was the hottest day I've ever experienced in Kansas City. 2001, and Ricky Hendrick won the first ever truck series race here in Kansas Speedway.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
It was so hot that there were cars, catalytic converters, catching the grass on fire out in the parking lots.
Right.
That's how hot it was. It was so hot. People were running their air conditioners trying to cool off. Now, I had season tickets back then, and turn number 4, and they had misting tents set up because it was so hot you could walk up into these giant tents with this mist coming down to cool you off. So, yeah, that's been 2001.
Yeah, no doubt.
July weekend, and they had the Indy cars that same weekend.
And that was my favorite. That was so cool back then when Indy was at Kansas. Unbelievable racing.
Yeah,
good racing today.
Scott, if you remember, we were up in the hospitality area for a while. We did some stuff from behind the grandstand.
Oh, yeah.
I think we had about 3 locations we were doing shows from that weekend, but it was a memorable weekend for sure. But I think that's the only time I can remember I had heat stroke. And that weekend was definitely the hottest since I've lived down here in Kansas City.
You stroked out, Kirk?
I did. I was about ready to pass out.
Yeah. Kirk, do you remember back in the day when the Craftsman Truck Series raced at I-70 Speedway? Do you remember that?
Remember that very well. 1995, the first year the series was in existence.
Right.
They raced out at I-70, and Mike Skinner, who won the first ever championship in this series, won out there. And I think they ran 95 through 99, if I remember. Jack Sprague won the last race out there. But one of the big memories I remember at I-70 is when Bob Keselowski rolled his truck down in turns 3 and 4, that high bank half mile. Tony Raines won like 2 years in a row out here driving the yellow sponsored truck.
Kirk, I believe that was in 1 and 2 where he flipped his truck.
1 and 2. You're right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. Down in 1 and 2 that happened.
Yeah.
That's Bob Keselowski, Brad Keselowski's dad.
Right.
Was a mainstay in the ARCA series, but he had a truck that weekend, and when he rolled that truck down there, that was a memorable moment.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I'll never forget the day when Ted Carlson was out there, and they had a problem with the track. It was starting to fold up a little bit. Remember, it was starting to get some holes in it, and I'll never forget Ted Carlson out there kicking rocks to the bottom of the racetrack. Do you remember that, Kurt?
Yes, I do recall that. And, it had a little bit of character, shall we say, they used the word character. That's what the old I-70 Speedway back then. And you accused Ted Carlson of, I think one time of...
I called him a slumlord.
Yeah. But it was in need of some repair back then. But look at the place now. I was just out there last Saturday night for the non-wing sprint car race out there, and it is a fabulous facility now, unlike what it was when they closed it down in 2008 with the old paved track and sat there rotting away for more than a decade before they've now brought it back. But it's not a pavement track anymore. It's a beautiful dirt track facility.
Right. Hey, Kirk, did you know that Neil Smith is going to be the Grand Marshal for the Cup race tomorrow at Kansas Speedway? Did you know that?
Did hear that. How about that? That's from the back in the beginning of the glory days of the Chiefs, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've got a Band-Aid, the Neil Smith Band-Aid that they used to give away that goes on. Remember when Neil hurt his nose one year?
Yeah.
Then he wore the Band-Aid, and they used to give him away. I think it was at McDonald's. Had a Neil Smith Band-Aid thing, and
they give it to you.
And you'd buy it when you bought a Big Mac meal or something. You got the Neil Smith nose, and I've got one of those at home. Maybe I'll bring it and wear it.
Right, Kirk.
I just want to mention before we get started here, Chris Knight from CatchFence.com is going to be joining us here in just a few minutes. You talk about somebody that knows everything about every series. No one knows more than Chris Knight about the Craftsman Truck Series, the ARCA Series that we saw here earlier today. So he's going to join us here in just a few minutes.
Yeah. Kirk, how'd we end up in speed with the Cup guys?
It looks like William Byron is going to be sitting on the pole for tomorrow's Advent Health 400. He was among the top 10 drivers that made it through the first two qualifying rounds. And I was just looking at the speed right now, if I can get my phone to work. I don't have that right now. But Kyle Larson, number 2, Ross Chastain, 3rd, Martin Truex, 4th, Tyler Reddick, 5th, and Joey Logano, Ty Gibbs, Denny Hamlin, Daniel Suarez, and Ryan Blaney. Your top 10 qualifiers for the Advent Health 400 coming up tomorrow. So the big runner of the day, William Byron, who's already won 2 races this year. He won at the 1.5 miles at Las Vegas earlier this year, and then the very next week at Phoenix.
He won 179.206 miles an hour. That's a 30.133, Kirk. That's a pretty fast lap around that place.
And his Hendrick Motor Sports teammate Kyle Larson, who has won 1 race here at Kansas Speedway and also winner of 2 races this year. He won at Richmond and then again at Martinsville. He's right there. And Hendrick Motorsports has really had it going on this year, despite Chase Elliott having the snowboarding incident. And now Alex Bowman is outside of the race car for a few weeks, recuperating from that sprint car crash here a couple of weeks ago at West Burlington, Iowa. So, but despite all of that and drivers sitting out of the race cars due to injury, Hendrick Motorsports is really having a great year.
Yeah, no doubt about it. There's three different people that have won 3 times at Kansas Speedway, Kirk. It's Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin, and Joey Logano. Those guys have to be the favorites going into this race. Would you agree?
I would think so. Denny Hamlin he won in the spring of 2012, and then he won again 2 times in a row, 2019 and 2020. So it's been 3 years since he's won a race. Now, Kevin Harvick won here in the fall of 2013, and he won again in the fall of 2016 and the spring of 2018. So it's been quite a number of years now that Kevin Harvick has won here at Kansas Speedway. But, yeah, those guys would be the favorites. Joey Logano, you remember when he won that race that involved Matt Kenseth. Matt Kenseth looked like he was going to win the race, and Joey Logano had that last bump and run for the win in 2015. And then a couple of weeks later at Martinsville, Matt Kenseth did whatever he could to rectify that situation. You remember that?
Yes.
And so 2 fall races in a row in 2014 and 2015 for Joey Logano, and he just picked up a win in 2020, I believe it was, his last win here at Kansas Speedway.
And Bubba Wallace was the last winner at Kansas Speedway, correct?
Yeah. The 23-11 swept both races last year. Kurt Busch won a year ago, and Bubba Wallace last fall.
Yeah.
And I saw Denny Hamlin a little bit earlier. I said, is Michael Jordan going to be? He ought to be here. The 2 wins last year were his race cars.
Right.
He just turned and smiled. He said, I don't know.
Michael's on his own time.
Well, when you're the greatest athlete maybe in the history of sports,
You kind of do what you want.
you can do whatever you want to do,
If he's got his own jet. He can land that helicopter right out here at the Speedway,
right?
walk right on in at any time.
Yeah.
I mean, there could be any second he could walk in. We know that.
Have you ever met Michael Jordan?
No,
No.
I haven't even seen him play. I'd never even.
I don't
Kirk
think
Elliott.
Is he that approachable that you can just walk up
I
to
don't.
Michael?
I don't know. I heard he's got a pretty big entourage.
I would
I would say that you probably couldn't walk up to him.
Yeah, I mean, you
say
know.
that's probably accurate.
Actually, the best place. Probably this would be the closest way for you actually probably to get near him because he's not around the people that are the avid. The NBA playoffs are going on as we speak right now, so
He's probably at a playoff game.
I would imagine I'd see Michael probably at a playoff game. I would imagine today. I don't know, but tomorrow he may be out here. Like you said, he's got a plane he can jump on. But Kyle Busch, he's racing today. I didn't know that until.
He's going for his 100th win tonight in the Truck Series.
How about that? So
Yeah.
one of my best memories was my first memories working with the racing boys and working at the Speedway was us all walking out of the Kansas Speedway at about 1 a.m. after a very long night with Kyle Busch and his wife after he'd won that race. And we walked out of it. It was so late.
He's a little misunderstood, isn't he?
And he was so nice to us and cool. We talked all the way to all the way to his ride, and he jumped on his golf cart with his trophy. But it was such a late night. We got out of there that night.
Todd, just tell me this: he's not as big a jerk as what people think he is.
No, here's what happens: is he has the look, right?
He just speaks what's on his mind.
and his resting look is that look. He doesn't smile when he's not paying attention to things. He just has a
bland look.
That's right. And they called it, a resting blank face. So, he kind of has that look, but he's not that bad of a guy. The guy's straight up, and let me tell you, they talked about his kid and bringing him in here. He said,
Braxton.
if he wins this time, he says he will not be able to pick him up anymore and hoist him up over because he's gotten too big. So
Right.
I heard him talking about that. But he will be racing today, which is great. I mean,
His boy's a pretty good racer
pretty good
himself.
racer.
Yeah.
I think it's
I got Kyle Busch. I talked to him here
Perfect.
just a little bit ago. So let's
Yes.
ask him what he thought about his chances for tonight's win. It could be a historic night for Kyle Busch Motorsports going for their 100th win.
Yeah, it could be. We've been talking about this for a long time of trying to get the 100th win for the Truck Series with KBM. But it's been fun to have had the success that we've had over the years, and I feel like there's still a lot more to go.
what kind of race we're going to see tonight.
I don't know. It's hotter than it definitely was anytime last year. So, the handling will definitely come into play. I feel like even though it's going to go into nighttime, our trucks were actually really good. Our Silverados were fast in practice. So, looking forward to the start of the race.
And there you go. Kyle Busch ready to go racing tonight. He starts outside the front row alongside the pole winner, Christian Eckes, who is our ARCA winner here at Kansas Speedway here a few years ago. So Kyle Busch starting on the outside, and there's two drivers with 3 wins in the Truck Series here at Kansas Speedway. Kyle Busch and Matt Crafton, whose last win in the Truck Series came here at Kansas Speedway in 2020. So we'll see if Matt Crafton, a 3-time champion, can work his way up there and win his 4th here at Kansas Speedway. It'd be 3 years since he last won a race.
All right, it looks like you got Chris Knight with you, Kirk.
Yeah, slide on over here. We're doing a Zoom call here, Chris Knight, so we want to make sure that your face is seen. Catchfence.com is where you can read all of Chris Knight's material. And I got to be honest with you, Chris, nobody knows more about all of the series in racing than you do. You follow everybody all the way from the ARCA Menard series, the Craftsman Truck Series, Xfinity Series. You got it all covered. We've already seen an ARCA race here this afternoon where Jesse Love won the Don 150. What are your thoughts about that? He dominated today.
Jesse Love really did dominate the race, but I thought it was one of the best ARCA Menard Series races that we've seen at Kansas Speedway in recent years. I thought, you really had 3 or 4 drivers that legitimately had a shot. Jesse's teammate, Dean Thompson, had a good car, and then we saw Taylor Gray try to make some noise, and Connor Mosack driving for Joe Gibbs Racing. I really thought at times he showed the pace and the speed to be able to contend for the win as well. But overall, I thought it was a great race. The Venturini Motorsports cars, Amber Belkin had speed in her car, and Tony Breidinger had speed in her car. Christian Rose did a great job getting a top 10 finish for AM Racing. So there's a lot, Greg Van Alst racing today with a heavy heart after losing his father.
Right.
In cancer. I mean, there were so many great storylines. And Mandy Chick, she did an excellent job. I feel like, she did great at Daytona and Talladega, right? But this is a completely different animal. And for her to come out here in her first laps and finish on the lead lap and get a top 12 finish, I thought Mandy Chick did an admirable job today as well.
How about Taylor Gray? Man, he wore the rear tires off of that car today, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. But surprisingly, this is the first time that we've seen Tricon Garage field an ARCA Menard Series car this year. His teammate at Tricon, Dean Thompson, was in a Venturing Motorsports car, and I really feel like that Taylor was really driving the wheels off that car, trying to keep up with the Venturing Motorsports cars. There was a couple times where Taylor almost found himself in trouble and got into the wall. I was glad to see him get out of the race. I was glad that Jason Kitzmiller, who caught fire during the race, was able to get out of his car unscathed too. But Taylor Gray, I thought he did a good job, and I think that for him, Josh Rayum and Tony Breidinger, who were the 3 drivers that raced the ARCA race, I think the track time today is going to help them for tonight's Truck Series race.
I like the car counts are coming back up here in the ARCA Series.
Yeah, I was surprised. I talked to a number of drivers and teams in the garage area, and they were surprised how many cars that we had entered. I knew there was only like 25. We had a couple cars withdraw, but I love, last year we came here for the fall race, and I think we had 15 cars or so. And today, we had at least, 15, 18, 20 decent cars. And I think that as we get deeper into the season, I think we're going to go to Charlotte. We'll see more of the same. And even some of the short track races we go to, I think we'll see a decent car count in the ARCA series. And Scott, it made me memories when you raced here in the ARCA car too,
Yep.
There were some big car counts when you raced back here in the ARCA division as well.
I think when the year that I qualified 11th, I think there was like 50-some cars that year.
I remember going to Nashville back in the early 2000s, and I remember an 80-plus ARCA field trying to get in for 40 spots. It was unbelievable. So,
what was really going on back in those days? Every Cup team had a development team at that time, if you remember right.
Or you could get a Cup car for a pretty reasonable price, right?
Right.
And if you had a decent motor and, obviously it was, I think, a little bit less expensive to race back then. It was just easier because there's so many resources and parts and stuff available. I know it's definitely changed for the better. I feel like with these, composite race cars and the Ilmore engines, it's definitely made it more affordable. But man, I sure miss the days of going to places like Nashville or even Toledo where they had 60 cars trying to make a 35-car race.
You know, when I bought my car, I went to MB2 Motorsports. I bought a Kenny Schrader M&M's car, and I bought it for $16,000, and it was a complete roller, and I had to buy a lot of components to put on the car. But the thing that I had going for me more than anything was Trent Owens as my crew chief. It was the first race that he was ever a crew chief, and I was so proud of having him there. And I had Dan Begley Motors. I don't know if you know who Dan Begley is or not, but he works over at Robert Yates, I believe now. But he's kind of like a SCI guy. You know, he's the guy that looks at the motors when they blow up and tries to figure out why they blew up. And it was such a great combination of people. And, you know, when we went down there with Clint Boyer at Nashville Super Speedway, and we led 47 laps, lost the lead with 9 laps to go, and ended up running second to Mario Goslin. Mario Goslin had just fresher tires than we had that day, and it was just a great time in my memories of running ARCA back in those days.
Probably there that day.
I was, and I'll tell you I was at Nashville that day, and I'll tell you one thing: that Nashville Super Speedway race was the race that changed Clint Boyer's life, without question in my mind. I believe that Nashville race changed Clint Boyer's life.
Well, let me tell you something. I had Richard Childress come over, and he told me that he thought he was driving Billy Gerhardt's car, but we rented the number from Billy Gerhardt, and I told RC that he was driving my car that day, and he come over and he told me, he says, Clint Boyer owes you everything. That's what he told me.
Yep. I mean, I remember that day, and I just think that I remember a lot of people in the garage going, "Wow, where'd this guy come from?" Right? And I think that day, you know, but that's what I love about the ARCA Menard series, right? You get a good car, good people, you go out there and you showcase your ability, and who knows what kind of doors it can open for you.
Yeah,
that's what I love about that series.
But you know, back in those days, the Pontiacs were really fast in those days.
Yep. I mean, yeah. If you had a good car,
right?
If you had a good Pontiac body, but I mean, there were some good days, and boy, you know, there was a lot of people, and I remember some disappointing drivers go home too, because you think that they have to qualify in, and then they miss the show because they crashed because they were trying so hard, and then they wound up missing the show. So
that's kind of what happened to me. I spun out on the 4th lap, and I'll never forget Jeff Berger telling us that at least I passed a bunch of cars that day, and that was the biggest compliment I could get from somebody at Kansas Speedway. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, more of the Craftsman Truck Pre-Race Show. It's the Heart of America 200. We're going to come back with more with Chris Knight in a moment. Stay tuned.
Can you hang with us for just a couple minutes?
You'll have to give us a cue, Kyle, so we can know when we're coming back. All right, brother?
Can't hear anything.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we're not hearing that program. It's all good, brother. Just give us 10, and then we'll hear the bump music. You can play any audio when you come back too, brother.
We have the biggest selection and offer the fastest installation times. At Pro Built Pool and Patio, we proudly stand behind every home we serve. We make dreams come true and deliver them right to your backyard.
Thanks, brother. Got it.
Right. Call today for your free quote. Pro Built Pool and Patio, 816-786-3893.
Your home for the NFL Draft. Sports Radio 810, WHB.
The Kansas City Chiefs select Felix and Enrique Uzama.
Unbelievable that I'm in this position, that I'm a Kansas City Chief.
Well, you have a chance to see him, obviously, for playing right down the road there in Manhattan.
He loved him. Spags loved him there. Pretty easy decision right there.
Kansas City's official home of the NFL Draft. Sports Radio 810, WHB.
Sporting Kansas City's back on the road this weekend for some Sunday afternoon soccer. They'll travel to Seattle to take on the Western Conference leading Seattle Sounders at 3:30 p.m. Central Time. Tune in to ESPN Kansas City for complete coverage of this Week 11 Sunday showdown, and stay tuned after the game for the final whistle post-match show. It's a big Western Conference matchup between Sporting Kansas City and the Seattle Sounders this Sunday at 3:30 p.m. Central on ESPN Kansas City, your home for all things SKC soccer.
Hollywood Casino at Kansas Speedway has Kansas City's only sports book.
1 minute.
Bet on your favorite Kansas City sports teams while playing the newest slot machines, doubling down on the hottest table games, or indulging in amazing food options. Barstool Sportsbook and Hollywood Casino at Kansas Speedway. The best bet before, after, and now on every game. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com.
When you want Chiefs, follow the leader. Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Patrick Mahomes, quarterback from Texas Tech, will be the selection for the Kansas City Chiefs.
With the 10th pick, the Kansas City Chiefs select Patrick Mahomes, the second.
Zero's on the clock. It's over. It's over. The Chiefs
10
have won.
seconds.
The Chiefs have won Super Bowl 57.
Your home for the NFL. Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Welcome back. It's the Craftsman Truck Pre-Race Show, the Heart of America 200. Chris Knight joins us. Chris,
Yes, sir.
what do you think about this truck race? What are we going to see tonight? It's going to be extremely hot tonight. And I noticed a lot of the ARCA drivers, when they got out of their cars, they were spent.
Yeah.
What do you
There'll be
feel like it's going to happen tonight?
There'll be more of them spent, too. I know that a couple of them went to the infield care center, especially if they're running the Truck Series race tonight, like a Taylor Gray or a Tony Breidinger and Josh Rayum. I know those guys went to the infield care center to get checked out and get some IVs to make sure they're ready to go tonight. I think that this race is going to boil down to handling. And with it being so hot, these trucks aren't going to handle very good, especially at the start of the race when the sun's still out. When it starts to get a little bit dark, I think that the truck conditions will get better. But I think that, Kyle Busch is in this race, and I feel like that he's probably the guy that you're going to be chasing. Christian Eckes likes to think differently, but I think at the end of the day, Kyle Busch is probably the guy that everybody's going to be chasing to try to get in victory lane tonight.
Zane Smith won this race a year ago, and he's the defending champion. What are his chances?
I think Zane Smith is obviously has a good shot. He has a good shot anytime he comes to track. But I've been a little bit concerned about the speed that we've seen from the front row trucks as of late. I just don't feel like he's good, but hasn't been as great as I feel like that he has been accustomed to showcasing in the past. I think that if you're looking for a sleeper tonight, Chase Purdy might be your guy.
Oh.
He drives for Kyle Busch.
Yeah, he does drive for Kyle Busch, but I think Chase Purdy has really stepped up to the plate and done a lot of good things at Kyle Busch Motorsports. I think that people question whether he got in the Tory stuff last year and then he didn't perform, I think, as people thought him to, but then it's been a completely 180 when he got in the Kyle Busch Motorsports truck. So I think he'll do a good job, and I think Corey Heim is another good possible sleeper for tonight.
You think Kyle Busch is okay with another driver getting 100 wins? How hard is he going to go at it just to get that number? He wants that himself, does he not?
I'm sure he wants it himself,
Right.
but he put talented drivers in Kyle Busch Motorsports equipment. Remember, Chandler Smith beat him fair and square last year at Las Vegas driving his own stuff. So I think that, it would be a huge boast for a guy like, we can't really consider, I know you consider Nick Sanchez part of the KBM. I guess you kind of can consider Sanchez part of the KBM stable, but Nick Sanchez or Chase Purdy, how cool would it be for those guys to boast that they got KBM their 100 race in a race that Kyle was in himself.
Hey, Chris, let me ask you a question real quick, and I'm going to get off the beaten path here just for a second. What do you think about Larry Phillips being named one of the NASCAR's 75 greatest drivers? What do you think about that?
I was a little shocked, to be honest with you. And I'll be honest with you, I'd never heard of the name before the 75th. Now I haven't been around. I mean, I've been around the sport since the early 2000s. So I haven't, I don't know about everybody driver, but I was kind of shocked and kind of it caught me off by surprise. Did it catch you guys off by surprise?
Not at all.
He won 5 NASCAR weekly national championships. In my mind, he's the greatest short track weekly racer certainly I've ever seen, where he went undefeated at a track one year. I'd never seen that happen. But there's a lot of talk that he might belong in the NASCAR Hall of Fame.
Well, I think if he's considered one of NASCAR's greatest 75 drivers, then he's definitely Hall of Fame worthy, right? And so, like, if you guys support it, then that's a good thing from the sport as a whole, that they're going outside the box, if you will, as far as what kind of drivers that they're introducing. I know there was a lot of people that were questioning, when Randy LaJoie was named one of NASCAR's 75th greatest drivers, so and there's still a couple slots left, so we'll see if, Joey Logano was in here earlier today at Kansas Speedway wondering if he's going to get one of those nods too. So
right.
We'll see what happens, but if you guys feel like that he deserves to be as part of that group, then I'm fully supportive.
Let me tell you something. He had a 76.1 winning percentage.
Pretty good.
That's not bad.
And you know what else makes it appropriate that he's among the top 75 drivers of all time? That was his number. He drove number 75.
So that's perfect, right? So
right.
I want to put a question to you guys, though. I want to know what you guys feel like that Tony Breidinger will do tonight. How you feel like she'll do? She's in a good truck. She's in the Tricon truck. She's a teammate to Corey Heim and the Gray brothers. How do you feel like that she'll do? I think she's done a great job progressing as far as her speed goes from 2022 to 2023.
I would be in shock, but what are your thoughts? Can't you do it?
I think a good result for Tony tonight is finishing the race. I think she's proven, especially last week in Dover in the ARCA East race, she was running top 5 before she had some mechanical issues. But I think if she can come out here and complete all the laps and finish the race, I think that'd be considered a successful Truck Series debut. And she's bringing new sponsorship from Victoria's Secret, so I think that there's a lot of eyes because she becomes the first Arab American woman to compete in a NASCAR Truck Series race as well. So and she finished 11th in the ARCA race earlier today. So I'm just I think there's a lot of eyes pointing on her, and I know she wants to have a mistake-free race.
Let me ask you this, Chris. Who do you think is the best female driver right now on the planet?
Oh gosh,
that's a tough question, isn't it?
Yeah, because I don't cover. I know you guys cover dirt a lot, right? And I know there's a lot of female stars that are covering the dirt right now. That I may not know of, right? But I only go from what I see on the racetrack every week on a pavement side, right?
Right.
If you're asking me from a pavement, Katie, I don't know how to pronounce her last name, but Katie, she runs late models under the Chevrolet program. She seems to have a lot of hype underneath her, and I really feel like, if you guys want my honest opinion, I feel like Mandy Chick has the capabilities of doing really good if she can get some funding underneath her.
Yeah.
And there are 2 drivers that we follow on the dirt side that we think can make it someday. That's Kaylee Bryson and Jade Abedisian. They made the Chili Bowl final earlier this year, and they're 2 great racers. And Jade Abedisian, still a very young lady. She won a $20,000 to win race in the micros here a few years when she was 13 years old. And to make the Chili Bowl A main, as she did this year, finishing 3rd on her prelim night, she is a racer. And watch out for Kaylee Bryson, who's going to be driving full-time in the Silver Crown Series this year. She nearly won a race last year in the Silver Crown Series, and she made the Chili Bowl feature 2 years in a row now. So keep an eye out for those 2 young ladies.
She reminds me of a similar path that Aaron Crocker took, right? The similar,
right.
And I feel like Aaron Crocker, she did a great job in ARCA. I know she never won a national series race, but I felt like that Aaron did a great job, and things just didn't work out for her on the NASCAR platform like they should have. But I thought Aaron Crocker was an amazing talent.
Ask you about the Cup Series. Kind of a surprise. We thought maybe Toyota would do better in qualifying, yet Chevrolet's in the top 3 spot. 2 of them are Hendrick Motorsports cars.
Yeah, they're sharing the front row. I think that they just come to say, hey, don't forget about us. I think the biggest question, or the biggest concern that the drivers were talking about here today, was just how the weather's going to affect the handling of these race cars tomorrow. It's going to be a slick track. They don't consider tire wear to be concerned, but they consider all the drivers are going to be up close near the wall, and so making sure you don't get into the wall and break a tie rod or toe link or whatever to end your day is going to be crucial, I think, tomorrow for tomorrow's Cup race.
Hey, what do people really think about Ross Chastain? Off the record, what do most people think about him?
Off the record?
Yeah.
I think you have people who love him, and I think you have people that hate him.
Right.
And there's no difference. There's only one person that I can think of that at this point, and that's Dale Earnhardt Sr. People either love him or he hate him, and there was no middle ground, right? I think Ross Chastain is a talented race car driver, but I think once he puts that helmet on, he doesn't think about anything other than winning and going to the front. And if he makes a mistake, he'll apologize later or beg for forgiveness, and he's out there to do a job. He's worked so hard to get where he's at, and I know a lot of people are frustrated with him and upset with him, but at the end of the day, you have to respect the racer mentality that he has, and hopefully, as we get deeper into the season, it won't haunt him.
He's kind of like a Joey Logano, isn't he?
Yeah. I remember, one of the best quotes was when Joey Logano puts on that helmet, it becomes a complete jerk, So,
right.
Because, he could be your best friend just sitting there talking to him, making you laugh and smile and all that good stuff. But then when he puts on that helmet, nothing else matters to him. And that's kind of the same mentality that Ross Chastain has.
It's I see a little bit of Ty Gibbs, a little bit. I kind of like Ty Gibbs because he really doesn't take much crap, does he?
Nope, he doesn't. He's calmed down a little bit, I feel like, as he got into the Cup deal. But he's definitely, if you push his buttons, he's definitely going to push back.
Right.
We've not heard a word about Ty Gibbs this year, and it's very sad. Lost his dad the night he won the Xfinity Series championship, but we've not heard a word, anything about Ty Gibbs this year so far.
I think people are okay with that.
Yeah.
I think people are okay with that.
Yeah, I think it's good. So, tomorrow, or last year, the 2311 guys swept the whole year. Is it going to be Hendrick this time?
I think Byron has as good a shot of anybody. And if you want a sleeper, Blaney. Blaney.
Right.
He's hungry.
He is due.
He's due. So I think if you want a sleeper, throw Ryan Blaney's name into the hat.
Would Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin, and Joey Logano, they've all won 3 races here at Kansas Speedway. Would they be the odds-on favorites right now, would you say?
Of course.
Yeah.
But, you just never know what happens in this race because you think that so many things can happen, and then a caution comes out during pit stops or just the weather changes, right, and throws the handling off balance or whatnot. You think that you have these races to figure it out, and then something happens, and it throws the whole race upside down. So that's why I love NASCAR racing so much, is because when you think you expect it all, or you think you know who's going to win the race or win the pole,
right,
it usually turns out to be the complete opposite.
You know who's getting close to winning race? RFK. Yeah. Brad Keselowski and Chris Buescher. Buescher won the night race in Bristol last year. It's only a matter of time before Brad K wins a race.
Yeah, they've done a great job turning that program around, and I think it'll only get better. And like I said, Chris Buescher won last year, and I think that Brad Keselowski is knocking on the door. He definitely had a shot, looked good. It's looked good. Maybe not got all the finishes he's deserved, but he's definitely been a player in contention.
Hey, let me ask you a quick question here. How did the Truck Series get Craftsman back into the series again? How did that happen?
Well, I think first Marcus told him he wasn't coming back, and then I think Craftsman was looking for a resurgence, if you will, and I think that they realized what good it did for their company when they were first a part of the Truck Series, and I think coming back has been a huge motivator for not only the company but for NASCAR, because it's brought a lot of the elements and the feelings back there. And I think it's like you always appreciate what Marcus Lemonis did with Camping World and whatever, but when you bring Craftsman back, it just feels like feels back when it first started back in the mid '90s.
All right, catchfeds.com. What you've been at this for a long time. I was looking over 20 years now.
Yeah, 20 years. Blessed, unbelievably blessed, and just looking forward to covering. And I wrote a story on there today about the 2311 guys welcoming Toyota, welcoming Legacy Motor Club to the Toyota fold in 2024. So we'll have a lot of great content up there from the weekend, and just Loved spending some time with you guys here tonight.
How big a news is that Toyota expanding their base now, Legacy Motor Club? That is huge news.
I think it's huge news, and I think people were surprised it was Legacy Motor Club, considering Jimmy Johnson's prior relationship with Chevrolet. But sometimes you just have to close that chapter and move on, and good things will happen in the new book. And I think that they're writing a new book in 2024, and I think a lot of people are excited to see what will happen.
All right, Chris. Well, we really appreciate you taking the time to join us here on the show today. And we can't thank you enough for doing so.
Yeah, no problem.
Catchfix.com. Check it out. It's always a great read, and you always get good stuff from Chris. So
yeah, and follow me on Twitter at Nitro01, and I'll give you some good stuff there too.
All right, buddy. Thank you for taking the time with us today. We appreciate it. All right, there you have it. We're going to take a break. When we come back, more of the Craftsman Truck Pre-Race Show. It's the Heart of America 200, and it's all right here on KCTE 1510. We'll be right back.
Track Talk. Rod End Supply is involved with a variety of motorsports as well as industrial applications with many different types of products. Since 1989, Rod End Supply has provided superior products priced competitively. Whether you're racing at the circle track or drag strip, rock climbing, or going off-road, Rod End Supply has an assortment of rod ends, radius rods, and specialty products to keep your equipment moving. Rod End Supply's experienced staff is ready and willing to help you with your needs. Their promise is to continue to provide a superior product with superior service so you can stay in front of the field no matter what it is. To learn more, go to rodendsupply.com.
Spring. The sounds of birds in the trees, smell of fresh cut grass, new decks being built, and new deck builders from all over town heading for the Deck Supply. Experts say that when you add a deck to your home, you will recoup at a higher percentage of your investment at sale time than any other improvement you can make. More than a kitchen, even more than a bathroom. So do-it-yourselfers and professionals alike, head for the Deck Supply. Come pick out the look you want from one of the showrooms in Overland Park, Lee Summit, North Kansas City, or the newest location in St. Joe. The Deck Supply, for everything you need to build a better deck.
The Marquez Valdez-Scandling charity softball game benefiting his Humble Beginnings Foundation will debut at Legends Field, home of the Kansas City Monarchs, on Friday, June 9th at 6:30. The Humble Beginnings Foundation was started in 2023 to help individuals in economically disadvantaged areas receive aid and resources to better themselves physically, mentally, and emotionally. Their mission is to help children and adults achieve a sustainable and functional lifestyle. Tickets for the MVS charity softball game on Friday, June 9th at Legends Field are on sale now at monarchsbaseball.com.
Hey guys, our friends over at Regain are offering a big discount on their signature state-of-the-art hair restoration package. Patients report outstanding results after just one treatment. The providers at Regain extract life-giving protein growth factors from your blood and use them to reactivate dormant hair follicles. Got a dad? Get him something he wants for Father's Day. 4 treatments, virtually pain-free. Call them at 913-291-8555 for all the details. Just a heads up, Regain Functional Medicine and Aesthetics is moving. Find their new space in Leawood Fountain Plaza, same building, just 1 floor up in Suite 210.
Save big money on your spring cleanup with 11% off everything at Menards. Works Outdoor Power Tools have everything you need to maintain your yard. Cut the cord and pick up Works Outdoor cordless power tools. Right now, the 20-volt cordless string trimmer edger and leaf blower combo kit is just $109.99 after 11% rebate at Menards. Good through May 7th. Savings are a mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
30 seconds.
Jamie Bluma here, inviting you to join me at the CNC Group Alpha Point Pro-Am, presented by Bank Midwest, on Monday, June 5th at Lock Lloyd Country Club. Treat clients and business partners to this unmatchable experience as guests team up with a Midwest Section PGA professional in an 18-hole shootout for prizes on the exclusive Tom Watson designed golf course. All proceeds benefit Alpha Point's
10
youth
seconds.
programming for children and teens who are visually impaired. Visit alphapoint.org/golf for more information or to secure sponsorship.
All right, a little Rage Against the Machine. Welcome back to the Craftsman Truck Pre-Race Show. It's the Heart of America 200. Kirk Elliott out at Kansas Speedway. Todd and I back here at the Racing Boys studio. Kirk, how you doing? Kirk, turn your microphone on.
I am doing great out here. I have a couple of interviews, one with Jesse Love, the ARCA winner, and full winner of tonight's race, Christian Eckes. We'll play that here in the next few minutes.
Go ahead and play him right now, Kirk, if you want.
Let's start off with the ARCA Menards Dawn 150 winner, Jesse Love, who started on the pole and led just almost every lap of this 100-lap race, and spoke with him after his big victory.
Yeah, absolutely. When I lost the lead, and that was the first time I was in dirty air all day, and once I got in dirty air, I just had to split the lane and go where they weren't, which obviously dirt racing kind of taught me that. So that's kind of where I was at. Just go where they weren't, and obviously I was able to get back to the lead pretty quickly.
Anything surprise you about before the day began? I mean, you had a strong car right out of the gate.
Yeah, just how hot it gets. I definitely fell asleep a little bit at the end, and got to go to work on getting my interior a little bit cooler and maybe some cool suits or helmet fans.
And the racetrack itself, it's hot out this weekend. Was it slicker than you thought?
Yeah, absolutely. It was two completely different corners. I was tight in one end, I was free in the other end, so had to kind of change my mentality, both ends, and obviously I kind of had to keep that in mind when I was racing guys, put myself in the right positions, and obviously just managing a good race and not overstepping a boundary and losing it all.
Just kind of talk about your team, your crew, everybody. It takes everybody to do it.
Oh, absolutely. I had a great gear wrench, Toyota Camry. Everybody at Veterinary Motorsports did a great job. Shane Rush, gave me a bottle rocket to strap onto and just hold on.
Where do you go from here? You got this big win now, 4th race of the season?
Yeah, I guess I'll go home and start working on the next one. I think we go to Charlotte next, so that's another one I really want to win, a place that I think we should win, and it'd be nice to go, 3 in a row, and obviously win in front of my hometown, or not my hometown, but where I reside now.
And even though it's a mile and a half, it's a lot different racetrack than this.
It's completely different. It's like walking to Mid Ohio, you know what I mean? So, definitely a lot of prep work needs to be done there, and I'm looking forward to taking on the challenge.
Your overall goals for your entire career, what do you want to accomplish for your career?
I want to be the guy the guys that are walking through this alleyway right now. These Cup guys. I want to be in a winning Cup car and win a lot of NASCAR Cup Series championships.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That is Jesse Love, the winner of the Dawn 150 earlier this afternoon.
Kirk, I think that guy is going to be quite that little bit. He's going to be a good racer. What do you think?
I think so.
Yeah.
He was pretty good equipment today. The Rhett Jones Racing Team car. Right. I've never heard of those guys. Have you?
No, I haven't.
So the big key is he qualified well.
Kirk,
started up front. He's fast right out of the get-go.
Do you have a little more sound there that we can play?
Got the pole winner for tonight's Heart of America 200, Christian Eckes. He's 5th in points in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. And if you remember, he was a former Snowball Derby winner. He won the Snowball Derby one year. Christian Eckes also won an ARCA race here at Kansas Speedway several years ago, 174.576 miles per hour to sit on the pole, and I spoke with him after he got his pedal car for winning the pole position tonight.
Yeah, for sure. Our trucking practice was really good, both on the short run and long run. Obviously, leading practice, leading 10-lap average, and now getting the pole. So I think we have a really fast number 19 Insico Premium Product Chevrolet, and it's ready to race it tonight.
And you won here before. You won an ARCA race one time here.
Yeah, it was a long time ago now, but about 4 or 5 years ago. But definitely, this place has been good to me in the past. So hopefully, we can have a good run tonight and just keep some momentum up.
Now it's a lot different conditions tonight than it was today. Qualifying is still going to be hot and slick.
Yeah, I think so. It's going to be even hotter and slicker tonight. So it'll kind of transition at some point in the race to sunset, which will give us more grip. But overall, it's going to be a battle like always.
How different are the trucks than this year than, say, last year?
I mean, they're all pretty similar. This place usually has a green flag pit stop in the last stage just because everybody kind of gets spread out with everybody sliding around and lack of grip. So I think it'll be similar to that tonight, but let's have to see.
The track is pretty worn in now, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, this place is fun where you can move around and there's different levels of grip in different locations.
So there you go. Even though it's at night tonight, Scott, do you think it's still going to be pretty slick? It's pretty warm out there.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty slick out there tonight, Kirk. The temperatures are up. It's in the heat of the day. I believe it's going to be very slick out there. You're probably going to see a lot of carnage tonight.
And another driver that will be a factor tonight is Ben Rhodes. He won the NASCAR Truck Series Championship 2 years ago. He's driving the 99 car. He starts fourth in tonight's Heart of America 200, and he's currently in the top 5 in the point standings right now. Let's hear from Ben Rhodes on how he assesses his whole season so far.
There's a lot, I guess, facets to this answer that I'm going to put together. My assessment is rather negative, and I don't mean for it to be that way, but a lot of it comes down to me and finishing the races a little bit stronger. The assessment for the team is positive, though, overwhelmingly positive. I feel like our mile-and-a-half program this year is leaps and bounds better. And whether I attribute that to Ford or to my team itself, I'm with a new crew chief and engineer combo, some of the simulator stuff we're doing at Ford. I don't know if there's one single entity or person I can peg that on, but I will say as a whole, as a group, as a big team effort, we are a lot better in those aspects. And that was the place that we single-handedly struggled most last year. So I am very proud of that. However, we've been probably like a third place truck or so at these mile-and-a-halves. And with that, you kind of can get into the hornet's nest if a restart doesn't happen properly. And because of that, we've had a couple of bad finishes. The 5 top 10s out of 7 races, that's okay. I mean, that's a more sunny stat than what I was aware of. I guess maybe my outlook is it's not as positive. The last 2 years at this point, I was leading the points. I wasn't third, so I don't like being third. My eyes are still firmly fixed on the top spot, but I guess our goals going into Kansas right now is we're kind of trying to innovate.
That is Ben Rhodes, former Truck Series champion. He's yet to win a race this year, and there's 2 drivers, Scott, that's got 2 wins. Zane Smith has 2 wins this year, and the other driver, no, I take that back. He is the only guy that's got 2 wins. We have Kyle Busch with 1, Christian Eckes with 1 win, Carson Hocevar, who won at Texas a few weeks ago, Joey Logano, and Corey Heim. Those are your winners so far this year. Zane Smith, the defending champion of the series, the only multiple winner so far this year, race number 8 of the 2023 season.
Kirk, who are you picking to win tonight in the Truck Series?
I am going to go with Kyle Busch. I'm really going out on the ledge with that one, aren't I?
Yeah, but I'm with you as well. I think Kyle Busch wants to win number 100. I think that's going to mean a lot to him to win that one himself and win number 100. Do you believe that's the case?
Yeah, it's like Chris and I were talking here a few minutes ago. There is one driver that wants to reach that 100 milestone for Kyle Busch Motorsports, and it's Kyle Busch.
Yeah,
right.
If he doesn't have a significant issue with a tire or something to get involved in the wreck, I don't see anybody beating Busch. But with Purdy and Eckes, they're both qualified really well. They've got good cars. A lot of Chevrolets in the top 5 right there. So it's going to be a good race tonight. I know that he said that the temperatures are going to be holding that track, but once the temperature, if for some reason you get a couple yellow flags and this thing does stretch a little bit longer, and once that sun does hit about 7:30, I think it's going to drop the temperature on that track a lot more than what they're thinking. I heard some of the other guys saying I think it's going to drop down too. So I don't know. I don't think it's going to be quite as slick as what everybody thinks once the sun drops. Let's hope, anyway.
Right,
Well,
no doubt about it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out.
Kirk, I'm getting ready to go have dinner with my friend, Cup Series owner, TJ Pusher, here in just a minute. How about that?
That's great. TJ Pusher is a big mover and shaker in this industry, and you're great friends with him.
Yeah, Spire Sports and Entertainment.
They've got race cars out here this weekend.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Corey LaJoie, that's one driver that he's going to win a race here soon. He come closer a couple of times at Atlanta, a couple of the places. I think Corey LaJoie could win a race here.
No, I would agree with you on that.
I
Kurt.
agree too.
Yeah,
I do too.
No
He's looked
doubt.
strong, and he's fit, and he's had solid finishes. In stages where I think he can put some points up. He may not win a race at a track that you would expect him at. He might pick up a win, but he's going to have a lot of points by the time. We got a lot of racing to do before we have a cut stage, you know.
He's a pretty good racer.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And Justin Haley has already won a race. He won a rain shortened race at Daytona here a few years ago. So, Spire is on the move, no doubt about it.
Yeah, no doubt.
Before we go, I know this doesn't involve what we got going out here, Scott, and we missed this news on this morning's show, but Ayrton Genitin has parted ways with
3
Fisher
minutes.
Body Shop. That is huge news.
That is big. That is big news, Kirk. I was a little set back when I heard that news today. How about you?
Yeah, I was shocked. Now, Chad Meyer was his crew chief last year. He's gone back with Brian Brown. Brian is out at Eldora Speedway this weekend, but on the opening night of Knoxville, to see that news come out, that was pretty shocking.
Yeah, no doubt. He's going to be driving the 14H car up at Huset's, and he's going to drive his own car at Knoxville this year.
And I talked with Kyle Larson a little bit earlier today, and I'll be honest with you, I was out at Lakeside and running around. I did not know Kyle had crashed his number 57 car at Eldora last night. He started the B main and started 22nd in the A and finished 10th last night, but that's after he crashed his sprint car last night. He's okay. But one night after winning his first sprint car race of the year out at Atomic Speedway in the All-Star Series.
Right. Well, Kirk, I'm anxious to see what this race is going to bring tonight. I think Kyle Busch is going to dominate this race. What do you think?
Yeah, but there had been races this year where he's not dominated.
But he's starting on the front row.
Right. That's the thing right there. Starting on the front row, that's got to give you pause. But Chris made the thought that Chase Purdy, his number, John Hunter Nemechek drove that truck last year. Chase Purdy behind the wheel, that he might be a guy that could step up.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Hey, Kirk, tomorrow we're going to be doing a pre-race show on 810 tomorrow, right?
Sports Radio 810 at 12 noon, an hour and a half
1
show.
minute.
And the green flag is at just a little after 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, and we'll have live coverage from the Motor Racing Network on Sports Radio 810 tomorrow. Now, stay tuned here. We've got live coverage of the Heart of America 200 on Motor Racing Network on 1510, but tomorrow everything's over on Sports Radio 810.
All right, we want to thank Kyle back at Sports Radio 810 WHB for doing such a great job. Todd Surprise as well. Kirk Elliott out at Kansas Speedway. I'm Scott Traylor saying thanks for joining us here on the Craftsman Truck Pre-Race Show. You can listen to it right now on 1510. It's the Heart of America 200. Thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow at noon on 810 WHB.